is Super Bowl Sunday. I can't believe we're here. This is the Sports Buckaroo podcast, available on all your podcast platforms, Spotify, Apple, wherever else, whoozy whatsy, tickety talk, the YouTube, the Tweeter twits.
Happy awesome Super Sunday, folks.
Happy Super Bowl Sunday, Buckaroo.
Oh, we can't say Super Bowl.
It's the big game. It's the big game.
The big game.
It's the big game.
Delete that out of there. We can't say that.
That's all right. We can say it. I don't care. How are you doing?
Very well. I'm going to watch some youth soccer at noon. Very excited. My son is back from injury, trying to get himself back into shape, and I will be seeing him play for the first time in quite some time. So I'm very excited.
That's excellent news. I'm building a hashtag for us.
Oh, love it. Could we, how about the referees are great ahead of the Awesome Bowl? My Lord, they're shameless.
All right, I'm trying to figure out all my hashtags. It says Happy Super Bowl Sunday, hashtag Super Bowl, live stream, pregame.
Oh, Eagle, you got to put Fly, Eagles Fly, and then Chiefs, Kingdom.
Oh, there we go. There we go. And what about NFL officiating?
Oh God, let's just not talk about it because I don't want excuses. I don't want excuses. This is the Super Bowl.
You're already coming at me hard.
It ain't gonna matter. It ain't gonna matter because it is what it is, and there's no recourse for this game. No one will care if the referees were bad in this game. It's too late at this point.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think all of my aggravation this season primarily stems from my absolute disdain of bureaucracy.
Yes.
And once you get into that Zen place and you realize that bureaucracy is it's part of being alive in this era. I like flushing toilets. I like air conditioning. Bureaucracy is just part of the compromise to get all the accoutrements of a very cush life. So be it.
Yeah, you know that whole thing, the toilets flush in the opposite direction in the southern hemisphere?
Yeah.
That's a lie, actually. That's not true at all.
Oh, you mean
I just wanted to bust that myth while we're talking about flushing toilets.
All right. Are we going to go live? Do you want to go live?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so I've got some really good news, but I'll tell you when we're live.
I tell me on air.
All right, no more cusses. All right.
All right, sorry.
There we go. And let me see if I can hit the right button. Hey, Buckaroos. It is Super Bowl Sunday, and we are live streaming some pregame. I'm not pre-gaming technically with alcohol, but it's a pre-game conversation. Hey, Buckaroo, what's going on with you? How's
coffee?
How's my Boston Buckaroo? I love it, by the way.
Hey, man, I changed. First off, I want to thank my 2 followers for following me on Twitter.
Get out there and follow Boston Buckaroo. Come on.
This just goes to show that the work I'm putting in is paying off and that there's a appreciation and respect for my knowledge. And I hope to get this up to 5 or 6 followers.
Oh yeah, you could double your follower count in a day. That would be Not everybody can say that.
Let me tell you, if you just got on Twitter a long time ago, you'd have a lot more followers. So don't be thinking you're something special just because you have a lot of followers.
Yeah, I like it when you create a new account under new ownership and you're just immediately considered a bot. It's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's funny because when you create a new account, they make you click through the hoops and loops to make sure you're not a bot, and then they have the nerve to call you a bot.
Anyway,
what was the point? What was the point of asking me if I was a bot if you're just gonna accuse me of being a bot anyways.
Right.
Like, yeah.
Well, the thing is I think the secret is maybe we're all actually robots because we're in a simulation. That's the. We're all the same robot.
There is some truth to that, but I will tell you, I'm happy to be Boston Buckaroo.
I love it.
No longer Buckaroo Jr.
I like Boston Buckaroo.
Just going with that.
I think
so it just
you could be the most famous Buckaroo in all of Boston.
It's funny, man. Let me tell you something. I was down at the boxing gym yesterday. My youngest son's into boxing now, and there's this dude who walks around our town here, and he wears a cowboy hat, a 10-gallon hat, and he walks and he waves to everybody as he walks.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of creepy and annoying, and then you sort of get used to it, and then it starts to be kind of cool because he's sort of, in a weird way, challenging people. It's almost like art that he's doing this because it doesn't fit at all. And at first you're like, okay, this guy's just seeking attention, but he's actually getting exercise.
Right.
And he's trying to bring a smile to people's lives when you're going through miserable Boston and you see some dude walking down the street with a 10-gallon hat on. And I thought of you because SportsBuckaroo has a 10-gallon hat. And of course, we are all hat and no cattle.
All hat, no cattle.
That is right.
Yes.
So we got this dude. I'll send you a little video of him. It's hysterical. He walked right by me when I was going to the gym.
Okay. I'll put it on the tickety talk.
Yeah.
Hey, so a couple of things. I'd like to, before we get into the Super Bowl actual chitter chatter, there's a couple of just real world events I'd like to touch base on, if that's okay. I don't want to get canceled, but we can.
Oh, is this like one of the serious episodes that the sitcoms would have once in a while?
Yeah, this is like the after school special. Yeah, we're going for it.
Okay.
No, but seriously, can I just say that I am not really comprehending what is going on with all of the 99 Luft balloons nonsense. All I can hear every time I see like a blurb on Twitter or whatever my feed is, all I hear is that 80s song by Nena. She was like singing in German or something.
Well, listen, can I just stop you about that song? Nobody will get that reference.
I know.
Except my question to you is, well, maybe some Rammstein fans, because she was the original Rammstein.
Yeah.
But did you like the German version or the English version?
Oh, the German version was,
I would say, yeah.
Smoke show.
You know what I've been into, and I'll let you tell your Love Balloon story.
Okay.
I watch a lot more, if I watch miniseries or Netflix type movies, I watch only foreign films now, and I
love it.
Read the subtitles.
Yeah,
because I just find that the quality is better. And the storylines are better.
Yes,
and the setting is usually better. It's more like authentic. I've been watching a lot of Scandinavian ones. And from time to time, you might see a Denmark or you might see something a little more south. But I've been watching a lot of Scandinavian Netflix shows with subtitles, and I must say I really enjoy them.
Yeah, it's for some reason, I don't know if it's basically because I can't understand what they're saying. The acting seems better, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't know if a line was delivered poorly because like I have no idea what they're saying anyway, so I'm reading along, and so I'm not as focused on the fact that this person like clearly is not related to this other person, but they're supposed to be in a family. You know what I mean? Like
I think all that drifts away. They do a better job with the subplots that are going on in the show than American shows.
And the visual storytelling is a little bit more less cliche. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So then, as relative to the big.
Well, what about the love balloons? Tell me about the love balloons.
Well, that's the thing. Is now there's like 3 or 4 of these things supposedly, and I mean, I just feel like, we're entering this era where, I was just imagine. Do you remember that balloon boy? Do you remember the kid who supposedly got trapped in that balloon in the Colorado or whatever, and it was all a big scam?
Yeah, the parents like made it all up.
Yeah. So, but every time I see one of these things, and now they're like shooting them all down, I'm just thinking, oh my God, what if a kid actually just, hid in his parents' weather balloon, and,
Well, that's what I said originally. I said, this is nothing but an advertisement for Mr. Chan's all-you-can-eat Chinese buffet. That's all it is. They have little things of pork fried rice flying all over the country. That was my first guess at what was going on here. It's just a big advertising thing. And they're going to land one of these in the Super Bowl today.
I mean, the thing is the way the media is presenting it, and I'm not spreading misinformation. I'm just observing.
I just spread misinformation, so I'm aware of that.
But what I don't understand is, like, okay, these things move at the speed of weather, okay?
Of essentially the wind.
The wind, right.
Yeah.
If you believe in the wind, right.
The thermals. They're on the thermals.
If you believe in such a thing. I mean, I personally believe it's God sneezes, but,
What happens if he hits the side of the ice wall? Then what's going to happen?
The ice wall. So, I mean, when are we ever going to get to that little zombie ice army? When are they coming? Because winter's coming. So, but
Wasn't there a movie where it was like it was sort of like The Wizard of Oz, but they had to escape in a balloon, but the balloon had too much weight, so they couldn't get over the mountain or something, and they were all going to get trapped in this other world.
I remember there was something like that. It was kind of like in the Pippi Longstocking era.
Yeah.
It was like an old dinosaur movie.
An older movie, yeah, but they had too much weight, so they had to throw some people off the balloon to get up over the mountain, and they perished. Whatever. Yeah.
There's a movie. Because what was it? It was like this. It was the Sunday night, whatever, or it was like the movie of the week, right? MOW. I actually got traumatized by several of those little movies when I was a kid. Now that you mention it, there's this movie, and I still remember it. This is like 40 years ago. It was called High Ice, I believe. And I literally am not looking at my computer. I'm pulling it from my brain. But like this old man was like going up to like rescue his granddaughter or something up the mountain. And then he like slips down the mountain and he gets like wedged into this little crack in the mountain. And then they have a helicopter that tries to save him. And like, I think the helicopter crashes or something. I don't remember. But I just remember the old man finally like dies of hypothermia, like wedged in this mountain. And then they like pull his dead body out. This is how the movie ends. And it's like really sad. Yeah. Anyway, like that movie like totally traumatized me because I can still recall it. Right. And let me tell you, they don't make them like that anymore.
Well, about these Scandinavian movies is they really get into the sidelines of. I watched this one where the detective was a middle-aged female chain-smoking detective, and she was really, really good at her job, and she knew what was going on. But she was dying of lung cancer, and her whole life was just really a miserable mess. And there was kind of this lukewarm love story happening, but nothing was ever going to happen of it because of the professional relationship she had and the fact that she was dying. And she was just so miserable, and it was so I forgot what it was so melancholy, and that was only a sideline. So that as far as the character development goes a lot farther in the subplots. And there's really they're really beautiful the way that they do these. I think it's because they haven't commercialized as much as we have, where everything is just very blah and very much the same. But yeah, if you ever want, I would check out some of those foreign films on Netflix or other outlets. They're really quite good. Okay, you fell off into the ice well. Oh no. Oh no. I'm here talking by myself now. Just gonna have some coffee as I burn some time. I hear nothing. I see nothing. I'm inside the ice wall. Oh no.
Oh no!
Here you are.
I
lost you completely.
I know my battery died on my mic, So
this is interesting because
I apologize.
told you I was going to charge my phone for a bit before we started. And what would that have given you an opportunity to do?
Change the battery out in my shotgun mic?
Exactly. Yes. Boom. See?
I just wanted to see if you could carry the show for like,
I did. I thought I did a
90
good job.
seconds.
I said,
Yes, you filled the dead space very well. I was listening.
Yeah.
Because my earbuds don't require batteries. So I apologize. I just want to know though, seriously, is I mean, I'm not scared of these things. So I don't understand why the news is making us try to be scared of things that are floating in the sky, dependent on the wind patterns. Like, I mean, as long as it's not like...
well, they've cleared out a bunch of airspace over northern Montana.
Okay.
And so... are they trying to send us the message that there's something important in northern Montana that they don't want us flying over? Because I would think the government would not want to tell us they're doing that. It would be the opposite.
So are these Chinese people just huge fans of Yellowstone and they want to know what's happening in season 5? Like, are they just trying to get snapshots from the movie set up there because they hear Kevin Costner may be quitting the show? What's going on? Why Montana?
Okay, but let's just take a time out. Let's analyze. Let's analyze a little bit, people. Okay. So everybody get out a map of the world.
Okay.
You can get your flat earth map or your normal map, whatever one you want.
Yeah.
But there isn't a bunch of open area between China and the United States. Okay. There are other countries between China and the United States.
Yes.
So, depending on which way the wind is blowing, I would like to know, where did this balloon supposedly take off where we are the only country that noticed it once it hit Alaska? There's a big, huge country called Russia.
Wait, hold on.
North of China.
Are you saying that the Russians don't have the capacity to look up in the sky?
The Russians were too busy stealing our elections, and they don't have balloon technology. And so we were the first to know once it hit Alaska, because nobody else, Japan didn't see it. Mongolia.
Have you been to the game? Have you been to the games? You've been to the Bruins games or the Celtics games with the little blimp that drops the Chipotle ticket so you can go get yourself a Chipotle. Have you seen those things?
Yeah, they're gonna be dropping little buckets of Chinese pork rice all over the place.
No, they're dropping ballots. Just the Chinese are sending balloons over to drop ballots into Montana.
So let me get this straight. So let's just say the balloon. Let's say the balloon, and it started in Wuhan, China. I'm just picking that off the top of my head.
It's the only city I know of.
Right in Wuhan. It's a little bit west of Shanghai. Okay. So they put the balloon up in Wuhan, and it flew all the way up in the air. And Japan, which is literally
right
200 miles from there, didn't notice it. Oh, South Korea didn't notice it either. They just went up in the air and then went off in the wind, and South Korea didn't notice it either.
Nobody noticed it.
We didn't see it until it hit Alaska. All right, so folks, I'm not going to say what I'm saying, but I just think maybe we need to think through some things. Okay, let's start thinking through some things here.
It's, oh my gosh. So
South Korea, our greatest ally in all of Asia, maybe Japan. So those are our two greatest allies. And they're like, it's just a balloon. Don't bother calling them. It's fine.
Yeah,
just let it go.
I mean,
it was a birthday party, and a balloon got loose. Whatever.
Okay,
that's what they were thinking in South Korea.
But you're telling me. So this is what you're telling me. Okay, this is what I want to understand. They're taking down tweets of actresses who are in sci-fi shows because they're offensive, right? They're monitoring all of the tweets, right? and yet they can't figure out a stupid weather balloon like took off from somewhere, and they couldn't find it until it got over Montana. I don't believe it. Like, so wait, what's happening? Are they watching everybody with an eagle eye, or are they not paying attention at all? Right? Wait, what is going on? It doesn't make any sense to me.
I'm calling, you know what, on all of this. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm not going that far. But what I am going to say is, if you want to believe that the first person that saw this was some dude in a weather station in Alaska, you are out of your mind.
So yeah, I don't know. I feel like, we're living in a village of idiots. It's just that's all that it is. So good. I'm glad we're on the same page there.
Can I just say one last thing?
Please do.
I kind of like living in a village of idiots because it makes me seem smarter without really doing anything.
What was it George Carlin said? He said, imagine the average idiot right? And it's like, imagine that half of the people are dumber than that guy.
That is the funniest thing. It's so true, though.
Oh, my God.
That is part of the problem. We are living in a society, and I'm not saying I'm smart. I'm not even suggesting that I know any better. I'm just looking at a map. That's all I'm doing.
Well, okay, so here's the thing, though, is, people will talk about, hey, we're in a simulation, hey, all this stuff. And I'm like, fine, if that's how you want to, like, wrap your head around it so you can, like, get on with your day and get to Starbucks, that's fine. I'm not going to, like, argue with someone's, worldview, Weltanschauung, all that, whatever you call it. So, but what I am going to say is, if it is a simulation, there's like 5 billion people who are poorly programmed. Like, it is like impossibly incompetent, right? Right? If it's a simulate, like, what is it simulating? Stupidity? Like, what are we simulating? Like, laziness?
It's sort of like when they put the
selfishness
engine back together.
Like, is
sort of like when they put the engine back together and there's just this extra part laying there. They're
Yes.
like, well, what's this for? They just toss it over their shoulder and go, oh, well. And so they did that with like 5 billion people. They forgot the program.
Yeah, I mean, so that's but that's really like the long and the short of it. As much as I'd love, and we joke about NPCs all the time, but like, I don't genuinely believe that people are like NPCs out there, because if they were, it is the dumbest computer programmer people who are writing this stuff, right? And if it's just, hey, they're being funny or sadistic or whatever, it's like, okay, why would someone want to spend their time creating 5 billion stupid people?
Well, it also
to interact with like the billion smart people. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
The other thing I'm noticing on this map is Guam is sitting Guam, which could tip over if we put too much military there. But Guam is sitting like it's like 500 miles away to the south of Hong Kong, right? The epicenter of like everything that's going wrong. It's not too far from Taiwan, really.
Yeah. It's like the purpose of Guam is to find this stuff.
It's like an airplane ride from here to St. Louis or whatever.
Right.
So my point is, what the hell is Guam for, if not to monitor Chinese attack balloons that they're putting up in the air? Why are we in Guam? Like, oh my God, we own Guam essentially to monitor China. I mean, the only reason we're there is to be in the South Pacific. My Lord.
What are all the big naval ships with the big like spinning radar doodads on them, right?
Oh,
and the secret submarine. Wait, what are all those people looking at if a stupid balloon can get over here? like what were they doing? Right? Were they counting ballots? Like, what's going on? Like, what are they doing with their time? They're monitoring our tweets, right?
This is what I've learned. If I was going, I'm not saying I'm going to do this, but if I were to get together with a bunch of like-minded people and invade Canada, I would just take balloons over, because nobody would notice us coming, and then we would just drop in, and then we would just take over. Like, balloon technology is We spend billions and billions of dollars on a new fighter jet, and balloon technology is still superior in every way. I think about it.
Well, I'm just like imagining, I can't get my head around it. So they did some calculation supposedly that the one that got shot down, the first one, it had like a 7,000 pound payload, and like the normal payload for like a weather balloon is like 15 pounds or something, right? Like of like the data instruments. So like this thing had 7,000 pounds of like solar panels and crap on it. Like, what is this thing? Do you know what I mean? 7,000 pounds. That's like 2 cars, right? A car is like 3,500 pounds, right? So literally, it's like the weight of 2 cars.
Yeah, a car's between like 2,000 and 4,000 pounds.
Yeah, like you get like a big like Hummer, electric Hummer. Like those are like maybe 6,000, 7,000 pounds.
Yeah,
but like, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, that's a lot of weight for this big balloon to be carried. Like, what was it? What is it doing? I don't know. So this is.
Well, I
think it's a lot simpler though. I'm gonna posit a theory, right?
All right, pause it.
I think this whole like sending satellites up into space thing, right? I think people are looking at the writing on the wall in the future, and they're like, oh my gosh, we could actually set up these like kind of high altitude weather balloon satellites, and then we don't actually have to like launch them outside of the atmosphere, and they'll be like low hanging, like cell towers. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I feel like that's really the technology that's probably being figured out. It's like, can we use like, so, because if, I don't know if you remember, like in the 80s, Ronald Reagan had his whole Star Wars thing where they wanted to like blow up the satellites of other countries, right, out in space. And
whoa. In the event they would have to.
In the event. In the event they would have to.
Got to be careful.
Right. So, but the point is that in the event someone succeeds and takes down all of those things that we've spent billions of dollars littering our, air, like whatever, just beyond our atmosphere with, because there's just a bunch of shrapnel up there now, right? Yeah. But if those all went down, how could you like maintain your communication network? Well, you just set up a big $7,000 pound, cell tower thing, right?
Right.
Up to a weather balloon that goes to 40,000 feet, and now you have like internet still, right? So to me, it seems like sensible to be like testing this technology. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're,
well, I think that the more I think about this, the more you realize that it wouldn't really be too hard to mess. Like the things that I would go after if I was going to take over the world. Right. I would not go after the things that they talk about in the Pentagon press. No, but this is not what you do. You take out their communication systems. You don't need to. It doesn't have to be like, whoa, they say things like this. Well, you know how many ships it would take to get the Chinese army over here to land on our shores? It's like, that's not how they're going to do it. They're not going to send a single person over here. It's just that, like, but they send you down these stupid like World War II paths. Like, right. No, we're not going to invade. Like, that's not.
No one's invading anybody, right? What they're going to do is they're going to write a big fat check to your politician or whoever, and they're going to like change your textbooks so that you don't realize you're getting propagandized into some other like way of life. It's a big long slow boil.
It's like, a long slow boil.
Right. So everyone relax, enjoy the slow crab. What is it? A crab? What do they call it? Is it crab boil? What do y'all do up there?
We have clam bake.
Oh, you'll do a clam bake, right? Yeah, you'll do a clam bake, but it's actually I'll put it like in a pot.
Yes.
So wait, you're not actually baking the clam. So this is what I don't understand. You're not baking the clam. You're boiling the clam, right? Yes. But it's a clam bake.
No, that's exactly what's going on. And
why isn't it a clam boil? That sounds gross.
Because we bake it. It's baked. We bake it.
What do you mean you bake it? There's no ovens in a clam bake.
Your tactic, because what you do is you dig a big hole in the beach.
Okay.
Then you line it with seaweed, and then you put in the fire, or you put the fire in first, and then you put the seaweed over that, and then essentially you dump in the clams and the potatoes and everything in a certain order, and then you cover that again with some more seaweed. Then you bury it, and then it's technically like creating a big giant oven. So you're technically baking it.
Oh,
It's really steaming it, but it's not boiling.
Okay, I gotcha. So
baking.
when I did a clam bake when I was up there, I was up in New Hampshire. They had it was like a big metal steel tub thing.
Yeah, because I mean,
we didn't dig a hole in the ground.
Not everybody wants to dig a giant hole in the beach. So, but traditionally you wouldn't need a tub. It would be right in the sand, and then you just have to be a little careful not to get sand all over.
Right. So you don't want to get sand all over your food. So, but I think clam bake sounds a lot cooler than what it actually is, which is a clam steam in the ground.
It is technically a clam steam, correct? But that sounds like clam steam sounds too much like ram steam.
Yeah, it sounds like a goth band. Like,
it sounds too like, you're right. It's too sinister. Are you guys going to a clam steam? What do you mean? Are you a devil worshiper? No. What do you mean? They kill babies on stage. What? No, it would never work out.
Oh my God. All right. So let me just change gears a little bit because I got to get my breath.
So there is a Super Bowl today.
I know.
We are a sports show.
My favorite thing about this week is that we've done like all these like Super Bowl like lead up shows.
Yeah.
and we're just not, I mean, you've done some really good stat deep diving stuff, but it's also been a lot of me just avoiding the fact that it's not the Dallas Cowboys.
That has been so I kind of look at our relationship where I fall down and you pick me up, and then you fall down and I pick you up. And in this case, pretty much for the whole year, I basically had to be there for you in silence as you dealt with your issues for the Eagles being good all season.
Yeah, I mean, and I went back and listened to some of the stuff, and I realize now that I'm really petty and biased.
Yes.
And so I've grown and learned.
And I feel that I'm influencing you because, like I said, I'm listening to Dallas Talk Sports Radio. I'm on there a couple times a day checking things out. I can't listen to it all the time because it's a little.
Yeah, you have a life
there, so it gets a little bit too Dallas-y for me. But they are in way more denial than you are at this point. So they are still thinking we just need to get better weapons around Dak. And listen, right. I believe that's true. And I've actually heard some good analysis. One guy said, I don't know who it was because I haven't memorized these guys' names. But this guy yesterday, he said something that I absolutely believe. And we've talked about this earlier. Jerry Jones is the reason that you're not in the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And he didn't say it. He didn't say it that way. But what he said was, because you screwed around with Dak and you didn't put all your chips in right then and there when you had Dak on the rookie deal, that's when you should have gone and traded for the best receiver you possibly could.
Yep.
That's when you trade for a tackle. That's when you spend the money because that was your window. And he says, I think they missed their window. And I'm not saying the Dallas Cowboys missed their window, but he's absolutely right. And I wish I knew who it was to give him credit. Yeah. But he nailed it. It's like, you should have. That's when you wanted Amari Cooper. Like, that's when you wanted to go get Devontae Adams because you had your quarterback and you screwed it all up. And now you overpaid your quarterback and now you get rid of your best receiver. And it makes absolutely no sense because you're right on the doorstep. And now the problem is the Eagles are going to be way better than you for the next 5 years. And that is now going to make it so much harder to get to the Super Bowl. Yeah,
you're just a wild card entrant every season.
Yes.
Right. And that's just who you are. So you're going to have to fight through the wild card weekend to get to the divisional round, which is where you always lose. So Dallas is just absolutely screwed.
Dallas is now completely screwed. And I'm not saying they don't have talent, but they could have owned the NFC East for about a 2-year, maybe 3-year window. and they completely botched it by not making a decision with Dak.
They overpaid Zeke. They should have just dealt with moving on to the next guy, right? And then gone, and they could have gotten Ndamukong Suh for a couple of seasons, right? They that's how that's how the Rams kind of surged a little bit, right? So
and guess what? Yeah, go ahead.
Well, the secret is when you luck into a situation, you got to Frankenstein this thing. And that's why the 49ers went and got McCaffrey, right? They totally figured out they needed to Frankenstein it, right? To get over the top. And
correct.
Barring, I don't know, 4 quarterback injuries, they would have accomplished the task.
The fact that Shanahan got that team to the NFC Championship game, on a 4th string quarterback and still gave the Eagles some struggle, is that team is absolutely ready to win. The problem is they are going to end up losing their window because he injures everybody. It's at quarterback, especially a quarterback. So like if they could get if their coach could stop injuring everybody and stop making little stupid mistakes, the San Francisco 49ers have what it takes to go to the Super Bowl. It's just obvious. They're in their window. And then you're right. That's when you go get a Christian McCaffrey because the time is now to win. But the problem with the San Francisco 49ers is they have a quarterback problem now. And now you have Purdy, who you don't know how healthy he's going to be with that elbow. And so it's just a mess now. So they could fall off. The Rams are going to be garbage. I mean, I'm writing the Rams off at this point.
Yeah, Stafford's injured.
Out of their window.
Yeah.
So they're done. But so like in the NFC West, the NFC West is like wide open right now. So it's going to be kind of like a weekend division.
Yeah.
So it's too bad for the 49ers because I think they're going to now feel some pain from making all these moves and not being able to capitalize.
Yeah, they've kind of pissed away a lot of their.
You like one other thing
capital.
I have to say?
Okay, go ahead.
They played some audio of Micah Parsons at the Radio Row.
Yeah.
And I don't know a lot about Micah Parsons, but if he disappoints me, so be it. But what he said exactly reflected what you said last week, which was that the problem with the Dallas Cowboys is they don't prepare to win the Super Bowl in the offseason when the work needs to get done. And he used an Olympic athlete as an analogy, saying the Olympic athlete was always a gold medalist, but it's those days at the gym that you don't see that actually gets them there.
Yeah.
Micah Parsons basically said that. He's like, we need to show up right in preseason, right in the offseason, right when the season starts. We need to put in the work then. So obviously he's seeing that this organization is not where it needs to be in order to go all the way through the season. And that's precisely what you were saying. So hopefully Micah Parsons does see that is part of the problem with the Dallas Cowboys. It sounds like he does.
Yeah, I think he gets it. Now that being said, I mean we can kind of shift a little bit to the actual game today.
You don't want to talk about the Cowboys?
Shut up. Everyone wants to talk about the Cowboys. I mean, it's madness how like this whole thing was like, NFL honors, is all Cowboys. Dak Prescott wins Walter Payton Man of the Year. Good for him. But like, it's just so much marketing love around the Dallas Cowboys that even though they haven't won in 30 years, everyone's still got to talk about them. It makes no sense. It makes no sense why the Dallas Cowboys are always talked about. I mean, it makes sense for me. I live here and I'm a fan, right? I've grown up with them. But like, I don't know why anyone in the rest of the country, like the Cowboys might as well be like the Cleveland Browns or somebody. Do you know what I mean? For the rest of the country, they're nothing. They're the Vikings. They're just nothing.
That's incorrect. The reason the Cowboys still resonate is because everybody still remembers how dominant they were in the 90s. That's what it is still driving the Cowboys brand because they were that good in the 90s. And for kids that were not around to see how good they were in the 90s, that's what's still driving their brand. It is that brand is just so damn good. It's just such a good brand. That's what's driving it. We don't even care that they're not really good. Technically they're not good, but it's just how good they were is carrying them. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad because, I mean, it really is a what have you done for me lately? Unless you're the Dallas Cowboys, which is like,
Which is part and parcel of the problem. Jerry Jones really isn't under any pressure because the brand is bigger than the record. Like, it doesn't even really matter. They're not hungry. It's hard for me to put it in the words, but it's sort of like, the Lakers are still the Lakers, even though they've been pretty terrible.
Oh my God, they're so bad this year.
But they're still the Lakers,
right?
They're still Showtime. So
yeah, I still had friends who were like there for the record breaking this week. They're like TikToking and Instagramming, and I'm like, oh my God, because I used to live out there and would go to the games and stuff. And so it was so funny because, all of a sudden my feed blows up with a bunch of people I know who like are at the game. And I'm just like, oh my God, like how many tickets were bought by people I know or who are at this stupid game to see him put a little leather ball through an iron hoop for the millionth time. And, I don't know.
Yeah, I personally don't understand why that is exciting at all. It to me just seems like, so what? He's been playing in the league for 20 years. Like, what is the big deal?
But the thing. Get it. So for me though, is making a basketball shot. I know there are like acrobatics to it, and like you got people like swatting at you, and like so there's a bit of a challenge to it. I get it. I mean, I'm not good at it, right? But I'm also not good at a lot of things, right? So like for example, Have we ever gone to like a construction site and like said, hey, here is the millionth brick that Tommy has put on a house, right? Because he lays bricks all day. It's like, well, if he's been working here 20 years, I hope he's laid 1 million bricks, and built all these houses. But like each individual brick that you're laying, it needs to be set with quality, right? So there's some, talent or skill. And I'm using this analogy because I am probably just as bad at laying a brick as I am at shooting a basketball through a hoop, because like it would be a brick.
Well, but the thing is, this is how I complete you, because I'm good at laying bricks because I used to do a little bit of that. So I'm not going to join the bricklayers union down the street, but like I can get it done if I have to, but I ain't going to lay 1 million bricks. I'll tell you that much.
Right.
That's back-breaking work, man.
Right. It's like, I don't know. It's it's more of a testament to just the longevity, right? So if we were honoring the fact that LeBron like was never injured and never missed a game, right? That would be a milestone that I would be like, hey, that's amazing, right? You know what I mean? Like the Cal Ripken thing, but I don't know. I just feel like the fact that you've been able to like stay in the league and, not pass the ball to your teammates more than anybody has not passed to your teammates. It's like, I don't know. It's just.
Well, it's like, hey, let's build a team around this guy.
Yeah.
And let's always give him the ball so he always takes the last shot. And then we're like, wow, he scored a lot of baskets. Well, no kidding. I think that it'd be more valuable if there was some dude that came off the bench who played 10 minutes who ended up scoring 1 million points.
Or how about
it's just a numbers game after a while. It's not really tremendously interesting.
I would be more impressed, honestly, with like the assists champion in the NBA, right? Who is the guy on the court who's smart enough to pass it to the guy that can put it in the hole, right? Like that guy, like who is the assists champion? Like that should be a thing. Is that a thing?
This is the thing in soccer where the guy who picked out the pass is actually the hero.
Right.
But all the glory goes to the guy that scored the goal. But it really was just a matter of that's a perfect pass at the perfect time. And the person who assisted does get credit, but they don't get nearly enough credit. And that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I think being a setup man is just way cooler. Like, it's kind of like being the guy behind the guy, right?
Well, like you have to read. You have to read where you have to see. Yeah, you're correct. In soccer, you have to determine, first of all, I can't lose the ball. I've got a defender on me.
Yeah.
I've got to look at the defender that's on you. I've got to take a look at where the goalkeeper is. I've got to make a perfect pass that weaves it in between where you're running, and I have to guess where you're going to go, and it has to be placed perfectly for you to then get on it and score.
Right.
So is it really the guy who scored, or is it really all the work being done by the guy who made the pass?
And you know what? I think we just actually succinctly, I'm gonna earmark this and put it on the YouTubes, because I feel like this little exchange right here perfectly outlines why the quarterback position in football is so vital, because that is what the quarterback position is. Be able to read the defense, know where the players are going to be, how to weave the ball like right into a perfect spot, right? Really, quarterbacking is what football is essentially. And makes it a slightly different, because it gives the accolade to the person who is reading the field in the moment, right?
Right, exactly.
And to your point, like basketball and soccer and even NHL to a certain extent, hockey, it's so wrapped up in the goal scorer and not the setup man. Where
the assist is far more complicated, but I think it's just the way that American sports are. It's not just American sports, but just the way sports are. It's all about the score, the game, who won, who lost, and you're missing out on the nuances of like how hard it is. This is why I enjoy soccer to some extent, because it's very difficult to score a goal.
Right.
So to be able to score a goal, a lot of things have to go right.
Sure.
If they're not all perfect, you can't really score.
Right.
But it's a little different in other sports, but you're absolutely right. The guy that's got to read 5 or 6 different things that are going on gets virtually no credit.
Right.
And the guy who basically just benefited from the other guy gets all the credit.
Yeah.
So it's like the wide receivers get paid the most, but do the least.
Right.
You know, it's like, wait a second. This other guy's on, like, all the linemen are on every single play. Everything's got to work out. They got to pass protect. They got to move in the right direction. They got to do all these things at every play. And this wide receiver gets thrown to literally 8 times a game and gets paid more than anybody. It's like, it's just really crazy.
That's awesome. Hey, I've got some good news.
Yeah.
I've gone to the YouTubes.
All right.
And we now have live streaming functionality.
Wait, how is that?
Well, it's a slight workaround, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
But everything is enabled, so
nice.
it's all in the up and up from YouTube. Like, you know, so I went to our studio and saw everything, and so what we can do is, I was just thinking, if I set it up properly, we could actually do some live streams out of the YouTubes as well. Maybe nice. If you wanted to start, and that might be a slightly better platform than the Tweet or Twits live streaming, possibly. I mean, I still like it. Just wanted you to know that
the spaces are good for is post game analysis. Makes a lot of sense on the spaces. You can just jump on real fast. It's really emotional, hard hitting. Get your anger out or get your joy out. And I think the streams are more where you could have literally longer form conversation. I like the spaces for, if they're used correctly, I think they can be a good thing. But so I don't disagree.
Well, yeah. So, but now that you've got your Boston Buckaroo, we can actually do a proper spaces where we sync up through your Twitter into the main Twitter, right? We can probably give that a little test later.
I know what you're saying. I could actually log. Yes.
So we can try it through that parameter here. Maybe we'll give a little test run here today. But I'm just excited because I've got the OBS software kind of set up to where we could give it a go. So I think I want to try and do that. I might try and have that set up like for our Wednesdays, maybe, just for a little while.
Yeah, like I said, I'm working on getting the studio set up, kind of figured out. We still got to get my microphone thing figured out a little bit better, and we got some options here.
Cool. So, that being said, Can we just do not a super deep dive, because I think we've done a pretty good job.
I have some stuff to talk about.
I know you have some stuff. I just mean, like, I don't want to get like way into the weeds. I want to.
I normally have 8 pages of notes.
I know.
I have 2 now.
Okay.
We're good.
Perfect.
We're good.
So, are there any kind of like, what are the overall areas of topical temporal data set that you've kind of scratched out for us?
Well, I mentioned this on our 4-hour show that just went on forever when we were going through a lot of the data. And you said there's 2 things. Well, one thing, I never really talked about the Bengals, even though I said, can you remind me to talk about the Bengals? And then you never reminded me.
Because I don't want to talk about the Bengals. But anyway.
I blame you. And nobody wants to talk about the Bengals. And I'll make this really, really short.
I love that you're acknowledging
it, though. Go into the data.
Okay.
But the Bengals lost in the Super Bowl and they lost in the AFC Championship game in the last 2 years.
Yes.
But if you dig into the statistics, they are not at the top of the lists as a team. So
right.
They are lower. So they are lower on defense. They are lower in offensive categories. So what I just wanted to say in short is, there's a reason that the Bengals didn't win 2 Super Bowls in the past 2 years. They are not as good as some of these other teams. The Eagles and the Chiefs are better than the Bengals. And so it isn't just about having Joe Burrow and having Jamar Chase and having T. Higgins. There are still problems with the Bengals, and they're a little bit behind these other better teams. So I just wanted to say that that is part of my overall philosophy as to how you get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And
the Bengals are still lacking a little bit of quality that they're going to need to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, so the team that I would equate this Bengals franchise with the last 2 seasons, right, is the 2008 New York Giants. Okay, like, I think if you were gonna like maybe do a deep dive into some data on those Giants championship years, right, I feel like they were probably like the 6th or 7th team, right, that were like on the breakout of all the lists, right, if you were gonna like listicle everything statistically. And it all boiled down to, they had a really great matchup against the Packers. They had a really great matchup against the Cowboys because Tony Romo went to Cabo, right? So they kind of like lucked through some of this stuff, right? Yeah. And then they, had an amazing game plan against Tom Brady. It turns out that Giants team had a really good defense that could thwart some of the Tom Brady magic. But
by the way, can I just take a quick side story? You might enjoy this. I was at a bar prior to that Patriots undefeated season / Giants Super Bowl. I won't mention where it is because we don't have a relationship with that restaurant, but it was a place that's very famous in this area that sells wings. Okay, so if I said the name, a lot of people would know exactly where I was talking. So I was in that location that sells wings. Okay, so I'm sitting at the bar having a beer and eating some wings. And they're talking about the Super Bowl and how the Patriots are going to win and blah, blah, blah. And I said, stupidly, have you watched the Giants this year? And because my whole thing is Patriots fans don't watch other teams. They only watch the Patriots. And for the most part, they might say they watch other teams, but they really don't. They only focus on the Patriots. So I said, you haven't watched the Giants, have you? And I said, the Giants defense is absolutely ridiculous. And I don't necessarily think the Patriots are going to win this game. I said something right along those lines.
Yep.
You're an idiot. What are you talking about? What, are you crazy? I'll bet you right now. That was basically how it went from that point on. And I regretted opening my mouth from that point on.
Of course.
Guess who was absolutely correct? It was me.
Wow.
Boston Buckaroo.
That's right.
I should have just put money down right there with the guy. But I wasn't totally confident that the Patriots offense couldn't outrun them. But clearly that defense, you could see if you watch the Giants, and I watched the Giants because the Giants, I told you this, have a connection with the Patriots in this region. There are Giants fans in like Southern Connecticut, and there's overlap between Giants and Patriots. So the Giants were never like this hated team before that
Right.
quarterback.
Yeah.
Parcells, the whole bit. So needless to say, I had been watching the Giants, and I was like, man, that defense is so damn good that I was not convinced that the Patriots were going to win that game, and I ended up being correct.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have bet on it per se in Vegas, but I wasn't surprised that the defense manhandled the Patriots. That's my little story.
Well, if we go back to 2007, December 29th, a lot of people forget this. The Giants and the Patriots played in the last game of the season, and it was a good game. It was 38-35. The Giants almost beat the Patriots, and a lot of people are like, oh, the Patriots, they should have rested their starters because, but they were going for the undefeated season. There's a lot of pride on that. And the Giants kind of were like, they could have laid down too, right? But they didn't. Right? They're like, nope, we're just gonna motor on. And the truth is the Giants probably should have won that game. And Tom Brady did some miracles, and they won by a field goal, basically, right?
Yep.
And
absolutely.
so a lot of people forget this. So then when we have the rematch, like literally a month later in the Super Bowl, like they had just played essentially, and so it was crazy to think that. It was 38-35, and then the Super Bowl is just a low-scoring defensive punt fest, right?
Right.
And it's because these two teams matched up really well. They could either be barnstormers against each other, or they could be, super crushing defense against each other. And, I don't know. So, but to my point about the Bengals, which is, I guess, like a long-winded way to get around to it.
We were talking about the Bengals.
Is that I feel like the Bengals are that kind of Giants era team where they weren't, they were a wild card team, right? They beat the Cowboys in Dallas. I was at that game, right? The week after Tony Romo went to Cabo, right? That was that year. And really, the Dallas Cowboys were probably primed to be, the team that upset the Patriots' perfect season, right? In theory. And yet it was Eli Manning and the Giants, because matchups matter. And so my point is that the Bengals, all you have to do is be good enough to be in like that top 10 area, right?
Yeah.
Statistically. And that then it's all going to boil down to, hey, do we match up well against these other teams?
Right.
And to be honest, the Bengals match up really well against the Bills, but the Bengals still do not match up really well against the Chiefs. They can't find a solution for Travis Kelce, right? They can't get out of their own way, right? And going back to the Belichick thing, what the Bengals have not been able to figure out how to do is they're never going to win until they figure out how to stop losing. And
I'll give you a quick example.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at one statistic. Time of possession.
Yeah.
This year, the Bengals are number 12 in time of possession. They're not even in the top 10.
Wow.
So that's just one example. So they're just not where some of the better teams are. And that's just one example. Philadelphia is actually number 10, but and New York Giants are actually ahead of Cincinnati as well. But just as a quick aside, what I'm saying is the Bengals pop up at number 12 or number 15 or number 9. They're not in the top 5 in a lot of these categories is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah, and so to your point is, I can't tell if they like just had a surge and are gonna like taper off, or if they're still just on the come, right? So I'm really interested to watch how the Bengals are, because this season they started off really slow and it looked like they were just going to collapse, and then all of a sudden they caught fire. And so I'm really curious how next season's going to go, because if they start off slow again, are they just going to peter out? Do you know what I mean? Do they have it in them to catch fire again?
Well, and you said something else that I didn't really appreciate when you said it. But I started thinking about it more, and it kind of clicked that I did not add one thing to my calculation here, and that is we were talking about Green Bay. And I said, well, look, all of a sudden Green Bay is really good. They're in the NFC Championship game. And then what does that say about LaFleur? And you're like, yeah, but that's because the other teams in their division sucked. And that's actually kind of correct, because if you look at, I just went to Green Bay and then I'll show you the Bengals. But Green Bay in 2019, they were 13-3. And then in 2020, they were 13-4. I mean, 2021. No, 2020, they were 13-3 again. And then 2021, they were 13-4. So the Vikings were 10-6 in 2019 in second place. But in 2020, the Bears were 8-8. In 2021, the Vikings were 8-9. The Bears were 6-11. Their division was terrible when they were going to the NFC Championship game.
Absolutely, they were waltzing.
And they had
waltzing
Devontae
there.
Adams. So
Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, guess what? In 2022, the Vikings are 13-4, and the Lions are 9-8, and the Green Bay Packers are 8-9.
Yeah.
And so you get rid of your best receiver. And then all of a sudden, you're no longer tops of your division. And now these other teams that were terrible when you were going to the NFC Championship game, now they're good. And now you're screwed.
Yeah.
So basically, Green Bay, in my opinion, is going to have to hope that the Vikings can implode, because we know the Lions are going to get better. So right. Green Bay is in a tough spot now for a while.
Yeah. And so that kind of like encapsulates kind of how I want to analyze this Super Bowl, which would be, if we're being honest, the NFC East was an incredibly dominant division this season, right? The incompetent Cowboys went 12-5. Okay. I mean, seriously, truly, lots of incompetence this season.
3 teams got into the dance from the NFC East.
And it should have been 4, honestly, if Ron Rivera wasn't such an imbecile. And I'm going to cut him some slack because his mom passed away.
Okay.
And like basically from when his mom passed away going forward, I feel like he wasn't able to fully process all of the data set to put his team in the best position to win. Okay. And
that's
so my heart goes out to him and his family. He's obviously, his mom's a sweetheart and all that. And I love anybody who's got a good relationship with their mom, all that fun stuff. Like, I'm just being as human as possible. I want to understand the context in which the Commandos collapsed, right? So I feel like, I want to send that olive branch out to him, because truly the NFC East should have had all 4 of them appear in the postseason, and it just kind of flubbed there just at the end.
Let me just put a stamp on that. Time of possession in 2022, the Washington Commanders are number 1 in time of possession.
Awesome.
Just so you know that's legit what you're saying. There should have been 4 teams from the NFC East.
Right. And so then obviously I think the 49ers, they had a weaker division. Seattle was the only other kind of serious contender. The Cardinals and the Rams were just, lame-os this year. Yeah. So I feel like the 49ers, even with all their injuries, I think they were a bit of a ghost in the machine. They're a bit of a mirage a little bit, and they ran into the buzzsaw of Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia was going to beat them even with Brock Purdy on the field, fully healthy. They were going to win by 2 touchdowns, period. So, all the 49ers fans can whine all you want, but A, you shouldn't have a coach that ruins every quarterback that plays for your team, and B, you need to have an organization that's smart enough to get a quality backup for your 4th string quarterback. Okay. Yeah. Like, go get like a Josh McCown, for God's sake. Like, get somebody, get John Kitna. He's not doing nothing. So, anyway.
Yeah, I think that is a problem, and we can speak to quantitative things, but qualitative things, we don't have a lot of control. I can't know what the team culture is per se. I can't know what the coach is thinking. I can't know what their training staff is, if it's competent. Mm-hmm. Like, there was a time where, your trainer could be the problem. Everybody's pulling hammies, and then you're like, well, that
Cowboys
doesn't
have that
show
for
up.
years.
That doesn't show up on any statistics.
Exactly. So, well, let me kind of complete the thought, or what is it? Arc the circle. What is it?
Arc the circle over the Arctic Circle.
Yes.
Yeah, that looks good.
Let me just put up another trial balloon. The Chiefs came out of a very weak division. Chargers are crap. I don't care what anybody says. They got talented players, but they're just a terribly organized franchise. The Raiders are a crap show. Super talented, can't even get out of their own way. And then, of course, the Broncos it was just a disaster. And so the Chiefs literally had a waltz into the playoffs. I feel like the Jaguars could have taken them out. It was if they had somewhat of a better first half, I think the Jaguars might have actually clipped the Chiefs this season. Especially, because Mahomes got injured. There's no way Mahomes should have been able to stay in that game. And then the same with the Bengals. I feel like the Bengals kind of let victory slip through their hands a little bit. I don't know. I feel like the Chiefs are a less challenged, weaker version of themselves going into the Super Bowl, and the Eagles are coming out of the toughest division, and they had a dominant season. Okay, if all four of those teams in the East are going to make the playoffs, and the Eagles ran roughshod over them, right? What does that tell you?
Well,
do you know what I mean?
Want me to give you my Super Bowl prediction now, or do you want me to wait?
I think we kind of, the whole show's about our prediction. I think it's, we're not teasing people. It's not like people are waiting a whole nother hour for us to tell them.
Okay. So that being said, I will wait till the end. So let's just take a look at a couple things with the Chiefs. The Chiefs are getting all kinds of praise. Why? Because of Patrick Mahomes. I've listened to a number of outlets. Everybody who's taking the Chiefs is doing so on the assumption that the better quarterback wins the Super Bowl more often than the weaker quarterback. I believe that we have a lot of Yahooism that's creeping in.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who don't watch the Eagles, who don't look at the stats. The Eagles are really, really solid. And I think that a lot of folks just saying, take the money line with the Chiefs are overvaluing the role of the quarterback. And again, disrespecting Jalen Hurts and his ability. And before we move on, I wanted to get your thoughts as to this whole notion that the better quarterback typically wins the Super Bowl.
Okay. This whole these corporate media listicle water cooler debate thing, it's you can just see that they're framed in an email sent from the suit down to the talking puppet matinee idol about how to create controversy. It's it's all going to come down to the better quarterback. It's that. What kind of fifth grade mindset is worldview is this, right? And that the corporate people are people don't have enough time to actually think about the game. They just need a nugget they can take into the bar and spit back out, right? Which is it's the better quarterback's gonna win. I mean, how? It eliminates any sort of context or nuance of matchup, If I just went straight into Vegas and bet just the better quarterback every game, I would lose my lunch.
I want you to No, I want you to take a breath. And I want you to realize that I heard this multiple times from multiple outlets.
I know you did.
Multiple shows, okay? So keep
multiple
that in
emails.
mind.
I get it.
And I am becoming more and more convinced that much of what gets said by the sports media is made up on the spot. They don't actually pull the numbers. I'm actually on a website looking at the Super Bowls. And let's say if this is true. Let's see if the better quarterback usually wins the Super Bowl, okay? We'll start with last year. Matthew Stafford beat Joe Burrow. So how exactly are you going to say that Joe Burrow is, or Matthew Stafford? So Matthew Stafford's better than Joe Burrow. That's what we're saying.
Okay, maybe.
Okay. The year before that, Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes, the actual two top quarterbacks in the league. And Tom Brady beats Patrick Mahomes. But I thought Patrick Mahomes was the best quarterback in the league. So how did Tom Brady end up beating the best quarterback in 2020? Let's go back 1 year before that. Patrick Mahomes beats Jimmy Garoppolo. Okay. So that we can argue that whole nonsense pans out. Patrick Mahomes is better than Jimmy Garoppolo. Nobody is going to argue otherwise. A year before that, Tom Brady beats Jared Goff. Nobody is going to argue otherwise, okay? In 2017, Nick Foles beats Tom Brady.
What?
So it does. Nick Foles beats Tom Brady, folks. Clearly, Nick Foles was the better quarterback. Tom Brady beats Matt Ryan. Yep. Peyton Manning beats Cam Newton. Yep. Tom Brady beats Russell Wilson. Yep.
Okay.
Now Russell Wilson beats Peyton Manning.
What?
So, whoa. So we're saying that Russell Wilson is a better quarterback than Peyton Manning?
Right.
Go back a year before. Joe Flacco beats Colin Kaepernick. So Joe Flacco is a better quarterback than Colin Kaepernick. I don't know. How the heck would I possibly be able to make that determination? Then Eli Manning beats Tom Brady. Whoa. Aaron Rodgers beats Ben Roethlisberger. Okay. Drew Brees beats Peyton Manning. So Drew Brees is better than Peyton Manning. And hold on, check this out. 2008, Ben Roethlisberger beats Kurt Warner. Hey, where is Kurt Warner? In the Hall of Fame. And, and he's actually won Super Bowls. So Ben Roethlisberger clearly
took two different teams. Took two different teams, two different franchises.
In 2007, Eli Manning beats Tom Brady. So I guess Eli Manning is better than Tom Brady. Oh, wait a second. Peyton Manning beats Rex Grossman. Okay, that it works out.
That works out.
Ben Roethlisberger beats Matt Hasselbeck. Okay, that works out. Tom Brady beats Donovan McNabb. Tom Brady beats Jake Delhomme. Well, wait a second. Brad Johnson beats Rich Gannon. Well, so Brad Johnson was the better quarterback. He's better than Rich Gannon. I suppose he's better. And then the year before that, in 2001, Tom Brady beats a Hall of Fame quarterback, Kurt Warner. So I guess in 2001, Tom Brady was definitely better than a Hall of Fame quarterback, Kurt Warner.
And the year before that was Trent Dilfer, right?
And then the year before was Trent Dilfer beats Kerry Collins. Then Kurt Warner beats Steve McNair, and John Elway beats. So yeah, about 50% of the time, maybe that's accurate. But to say that the better quarterback always wins is not even close.
I feel like I'm in a Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead skit. It's like literally, you've just illuminated the fact that it's an actual coin flip, like almost 50-50, that the better quarterback statistically will be the victor in the Super Bowl over the last 22 years.
Don't forget, yeah. Phil Simms beat John Elway in 1986. Right. Is anybody going to say that Phil Simms is a better quarterback than John Elway?
John Elway beat Brett Favre.
Guess what? Doug Williams, the first black quarterback to play in the Super Bowl, he beat John Elway too. So I guess Doug Williams is a better quarterback than John Elway.
Absolutely.
So my point is, yes, there are times. Nobody's going to say Jeff Hostetler was better than Jim Kelly, yet Jeff Hostetler beat Jim Kelly.
Mark Rippon?
Nobody's going to say Mark Rippon is a better quarterback than Jim Kelly, yet he beat Jim Kelly. So sure, Troy Aikman beats Jim Kelly. We could argue Troy Aikman's a better quarterback. But, I mean, it doesn't really, it's not that the better quarterback usually wins the Super Bowl. It's a coin flip.
Yeah. What I love is that I was able to go follow along with this list of yours all the way. And I have zero notes in front of me. I have no computer screen open in front of me, but I'm sitting here trending along with the Trent Dilfer year, the Mark Rippon year, I have all of these matchups like permanently stored in my brain. It's amazing to me that I wonder what I could have accomplished in life with this capacity of data retention, and I've committed it to Super Bowl matchups.
I know exactly. Well, but so, and you know what's skewing all of this?
Okay, what's skewing it?
well, there were three dominant quarterbacks in the 2000s. Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, and Peyton Manning were completely dominant.
Yeah.
So if you remove them, it's like Jake Delhomme, Donovan McNabb, Matt Hasselbeck, and Rex Grossman. Those were the four quarterbacks that the AFC went up against from 2003 to 2006. So it's like, come on, man. Like, the AFC was dominant at one point in the 2000s. And so it's all, no, the quarterback, whoever the quarterback is, has almost no bearing. It is a coin flip.
Yeah, well, what it really is the quarterbacks who get to the Super Bowl, right, are the ones who have limited their turnovers, the ones who have mastered ball security, the ones who have not lost the games for their teams, right? This is why Brett Favre, honestly, only went to 2 Super Bowls and won one of them, right? And he pretty much should have lost to the Patriots. They were like, it was like an amazing Desmond Howard, like, return or whatever it was, that wasn't it like a punt return or a kick return that Desmond Howard did or something that turned the tide of that game. It had very little to do with Brett Favre, actually, right? Yep. So they lost that game on special teams, basically. And it was kind of just a coin flip luck. And so we're basically 2 or 3 football plays away from Brett Favre never having won a Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, and actually, if we go back to 2016, if Matt Ryan doesn't take that sack, the Atlanta Falcons win the Super Bowl.
Right.
So you could argue, did Tom Brady be? Yes, absolutely a fantastic comeback, but Matt Ryan lost the game for them.
Yes.
So I don't know that that's on Brady. Like, it is, but it isn't.
Right.
Because of Matt Ryan making a stupid, terrible rookie mistake.
Yeah. And that's the thing is so much of these. This is why the Super Bowl is so fun, because it's actually like a team sport. The field goal kicker's got to do his job, the punter's got to do his job, the lineman got to block. The tight end's got to figure everything. The wide receivers got to get open. Like, this is why football is actually fun, is because you're do you remember? I don't know. So when we were kids, like in 3rd grade, they would show us this these like science videos, right? And I can't remember if it was like 3, 2, 1 contact or whatever it was called.
Yeah, 3, 2, 1 contact.
Okay, you remember this? That. Okay, yep. But there was this one where they had like the ping pong ball room, right, and a bunch of mouse traps, right? And then they would they would throw a ping pong ball into this room of ping pong balls that are on a bunch of mouse traps, and then the first ping pong ball would set off another one, and then they were basically calculating like how fast all of the things got discharged, right? All the mouse traps, right? Because all the balls are bouncing around, and so it's like chaos. But then there's like some kind of sensibility inside the chaos, right? And so they like filmed it at slow mo and sent these ping pong balls in. It's amazing how I retained all this stuff from like 3rd grade. But anyway, my point though is that's kind of what this sport is all about. You've got 11 guys on each side of the field, and it's like a bunch of ping pong balls getting released, and you don't know you know how the play is called, but you don't know how it's actually going to play out, because if one player misses their assignment, right, then it's just a crapshoot. And when it becomes a crapshoot, you need players who can improvise. And I feel like this is why Patrick Mahomes is so talented, because he can crapshoot with the best of them. And I feel like Jalen Hurts is a perfect matchup for this, because Jalen Hurts can essentially go 7th grade football unexpectedly, and there you go, you're off to the races. This matchup is ideal, and I can't believe I'm saying this out loud into a microphone and recording it, but this is actually an ideal matchup if you like if you like to play craps, where you're going to roll the dice and we're going to see what happens, right? We have no idea how this could play out. We have a sense, but we're actually going to have to watch it and let it happen in front of us. This is actually one of the first times a Super Bowl to me has been so competitive. Like, you might not know how it's going to turn out literally until overtime.
You're absolutely correct that is how it could turn out. That is not how I think it's going to turn out.
Me neither, but
But I completely agree with what you're saying. Like, you can't, when somebody gets a pick six or there's a fumble or a quarterback breaks his elbow, you can't accommodate for those things ahead of time. You
Right.
don't know that those things are going to happen. So this is why it becomes difficult, which is why we have to go in with the assumption that, assuming that the quarterbacks play the game, like at the if a big balloon comes down and scoops up Patrick Mahomes and his wife and his brother, and they go up in the air and they go over the ice wall. Like, I can't accommodate for that when I'm analyzing this, but that could happen today. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm going to build my whole strategy around it. So. Let me tell you something, though. Let's take a look at the Kansas City Chiefs for just a second. You know who the offensive coordinator was under Romeo Crennel back in 2012 when he was the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs?
Wait, this is what you texted me? Was it Doug Peterson?
No, it is not. Nope.
Because I thought it was Sirianni.
It is not.
Okay, who is it?
Brian Daboll, who is the head coach of the Giants, was the offensive coordinator for the Chiefs in 2012.
Wow.
Wow. Now check this out. 2013, Andy Reid's first year, they went 11-5-0. Guess who the offensive coordinator of that team was a year after Brian Daboll?
Who?
Doug Peterson.
Wow.
Starting to see a theme. 2014, Doug Peterson is also the offensive coordinator. And in 2015, Doug Peterson is also the offensive coordinator. And they go 11-5-0 once again.
Okay.
They lost in the divisional round to the New England Patriots because the Patriots were just better. But Doug Peterson. So then in 2016, Brad Childress comes in for 1 year. And they go 12-4-0.
Okay.
So we're now seeing that there's continuity. They lost to the really good Pittsburgh Steelers in the divisional round. And then in 2017, Matt Nagy is now the offensive coordinator. And
Yikes.
they lost to a really good Titans team in the wild card. Okay. They went 12-4-0 then. And then Eric Bieniemy becomes the offensive coordinator in 2018 and is the current offensive coordinator. Now, This is the year that Patrick Mahomes came in. They're 12-4-0 with Alex Smith. I mean, they lost in the conference championships by a touchdown to the New England Patriots.
Right.
This is before Mahomes was their starting quarterback.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Then in 2019, it becomes they have the same record the next year with Mahomes. Mm-hmm. And then they won the Super Bowl versus the San Francisco 49ers. Mm. So like this team was getting, like, this was not like Andy Reid went in there and just built this. This was all moving in the right direction for a long time with highly, highly qualified coordinators and highly competent coaching.
Right.
And so this whole idea that it's magically just Mahomes, it isn't. I mean, he's fantastic.
He's fantastic, but
it isn't just because Mahomes got there. There's a lot of other stuff. They already had Kelsey at this point. Yeah. They already have Tyreek Hill at this point. There's a lot of other moving parts that are happening here.
Yeah.
And I just wanted everybody to know there are some big names that came floating through there to build the Kansas City Chiefs up.
Yeah. It's a great organization. It's been run really well. I mean, even back when they traded for Montana, the Kansas City Chiefs were always like aspiring to be right there, and they always were. They were kind of like, I think what like the San Francisco 49ers are now, right? They're like constantly at least getting to the divisional round, like at a minimum, right? They're just always in the hunt, right?
So Doug Peterson goes to the Eagles.
Yeah.
Guess who his offensive coordinator was the first year that Peterson takes over for the Eagles.
Who?
He's now a new head coach.
What? He's a new head coach?
Well, he's not a new head coach, but he's with a different team.
Okay.
Frank Reich.
Wow.
Colts,
Okay.
and now he's with
Cool.
the Carolina. So he was the offensive coordinator for Doug Peterson. And then he was the offensive coordinator the year that they beat the Patriots. So Frank Reich is in this mix. And then it became Mike Groh after that. So Frank Reich actually has Super Bowl experience. So like this is why it's a very, very small group of people that are involved in all of this.
Okay, so but hold on.
Go ahead.
Time out.
Yeah.
So Frank Reich was the offensive coordinator for Peterson. Was that
2016 and 2017?
That was the year they won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles.
Yep.
But they also had Carson Wentz. So now I'm starting to believe that Frank Reich was actually instrumental in bringing Wentz to the Colts.
Yeah, so now again, we should have probably known that.
Right, but
I didn't really know this at the time.
What I'm saying is, that should not only should it be known, but that should have been like really like out in front, right? Like,
unless Frank Reich really thought he could revitalize Wentz because he had seen what he could do and he had the tools.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. Frank Reich, this was a big mistake. And what if he tries to go get him again for Carolina?
Well, so here's my point though, right? Which is now I understand why Irsay is like, fire Frank Reich, right? And let's go with Saturday, because at least Saturday isn't going to go and make the terrible mistake that Frank Reich just made, right? Because you were the offensive coordinator under Doug Peterson and won the Super Bowl on a trick play with Nick Foles, right?
Yep.
I mean, that
trick play would be known as the Philly special.
Yeah.
Philly.
But the thing is that leads me to believe that Frank Reich is toxic in terms of building a franchise, because he's relying on his relationships more than his brain, right?
Well. To be fair,
oh no,
he's taken over 2 garbage teams.
No, but I'm saying though, okay, like
no, I know what you're saying. I get it.
But the thing is okay, I've given some advice to people,
okay,
which is, the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships, right? And I feel like Frank Reich might be relying more on a comfort level rather than a talent level. And that is doom for the Colts under his leadership.
Yep.
And I feel now super scared for the Panthers, because the Panthers had all rallied around the interim coach, right? And we're kind of devastated that Frank Reich was hired. And so we might watch that Carolina franchise just completely implode over the next couple of seasons. This could be really interesting to watch. Anyway, it's just put a pin in that as a storyline to follow. I might be out on Frank Reich as anything but a backup to Jim Kelly. So
it's possible.
All right. So anyway, please proceed.
Well, so what I'm getting at is this notion that all of a sudden a great coach comes in, because we're going to be told ad nauseum what a great coach Andy Reid is. And I'm not saying that he isn't, but he's only got a Super Bowl after 24 years of trying. And so it isn't necessarily his fault, but he's not this infallible coach that just puts everything together. He's coming into situations in Kansas City that's sort of moving in the general right direction. They're trying to get a quarterback. They're trying to install something. They've got really competent people. So he might be the guy that puts them over the top. But he didn't take a really lousy, this is different than going to a bottom of the barrel Colts team or going to the bottom of the barrel
Like with what
Carolina.
Parcells did with Dallas. It took him from like 6-10 to like, playoff team. Yeah, I got you.
I'll give you a perfect example. If Aaron Rodgers gets traded to the Jets, mark it down. It ain't going to make any difference. The Jets will still be terrible. Aaron Rodgers isn't the problem with the Jets. So Aaron Rodgers will be just like Brett Favre or anybody else that goes to a bad team. They're still going to be terrible because the problem isn't the quarterback. It's a lot of things.
The organization.
Yeah. Right. So I think Andy Reid deserves a lot of credit for making a good thing better. But make no mistake, this organization you could see that the organization is trying. They go out, like before that, they had brought in the Patriots offensive coordinator, the guy that was with Notre Dame for a while, Charlie Weiss. So they were bringing in these guys that they thought were going to help turn the tide, and they were the wrong guys. But the organization was trying to move this ship into the right direction before Andy Reid got there. And then he put it over the top, and then they had some really good players, and he's making it all work. But I just don't think that it's not that they were a quarterback away. They were doing pretty well with Alex Smith as well. But Mahomes is much better. But there's a lot of things that are happening to make this a good team. What I don't really understand on the Eagles side, I don't really understand why it all fell apart with Doug Peterson, because clearly Sirianni came into a very good team. In his first year, they were good.
Yeah.
So even though the whole thing fell apart with Peterson, how did they end up so good?
I don't know, because Peterson drafted Jalen Hurts and wanted to go to him, and they fought him on like leaving Wentz in, right? The organization, right? And so I really feel like when so basically Peterson was like, fine, I'm out, right? Because y'all are meddling, whatever. And then Sirianni came in, and I think at that point, when the Eagles organization, Lurie or whatever his name is, when he lost Peterson, he realized he overstepped, right? And so then he hires Sirianni, says, hey, I made a mistake with Doug. I'm not going to make that mistake with you. I'm sorry, right? I feel like that's where we are, right? I think Lurie knows he messed up with the Peterson thing and learned quickly from that mistake, right? And it was probably more of like, Lurie had damaged the relationship and it just couldn't proceed. You know what I mean?
Because in 2020, the Eagles are 4-11-1, and that's essentially when I think Doug Peterson got fired or left or whatever, however you want to. So they're 9-7-0 in 2019, and then in 2020 they're 4-11-1. Then Sirianni comes in 2021, and they're 9-8-0. So, are we saying that Sirianni is just a much better coach than Doug Peterson?
No.
I have trouble believing.
Sirianni didn't have to play with Wentz.
Yeah.
That's what it all boils down to.
Yeah.
Right. Management was forcing Peterson to play people he didn't want to play. Yeah. And it all fell apart.
Right. Yep.
And then Lurie figured out he messed up. Peterson's going to be successful in Jacksonville now. We see the writing on the wall that Peterson got a raw deal in Philly. And Sirianni is, the beneficiary?
Yeah, and guess what they also did in 2022 at the beginning of this preseason?
Yeah.
They went out and spent a ton of money on a legit number one receiver.
Yeah, they did.
A.J. Brown. Yep. Guess what? That put everything over the top.
Absolutely.
Because this is a perfect example, in my opinion, of when you want to. They did this right. They spent big on the receiver and they hit. They didn't go try to, like the Patriots. Let's go get an old guy that's been around. Let's go get Mohamed Sanu. Let's go get an old number 2.
Yeah.
Or let's go get Randy Moss when he's old because he's cheap. Now, Randy Moss is probably the greatest wide receiver ever. So that's a slightly different story. But generally speaking, let's go get some old guy that can't help us. No, this is the Eagles going after A.J. Brown right when they did. And then they drafted Devontae Smith. So they were thinking right there, we're going to help Jalen Hurts. And now is our window.
Right.
And this, to their credit, they spent, in my opinion, at the right time on that receiver.
Yeah.
And
100%.
too often what we see is the Raiders go get Devontae Adams, my God, the Green Bay Packers just should have paid him because they would have it's just insane.
Yeah, or the Cowboys should have kept Amari Cooper. Or if you're going to get rid of Amari Cooper, go out and get somebody. You got to go out
because you sent Devontae Adams to the Raiders, who clearly have other problems, and maybe they don't have the quarterback, but there's clearly the Raiders aren't one receiver away. Maybe they thought they were. The Dallas Cowboys were ready to win, and they
botched it. Yeah.
The Eagles are smart because the Eagles have been in this mix for 15 years already.
Yeah.
And they know what it takes to win. And I just really feel good about the Eagles for the next few years. I think they're going to maximize this team, and this is going to be the team to beat in the East, and it's going to be for Dallas and the Giants to try to chase.
All right. So you said you had a heart out. So I'm gonna honor your heart out,
people.
So let's get into our actual pickety picks.
Hard stop.
So,
I am taking the Philadelphia Eagles to win by 17.
What? Holy cow. 17-point victory for the Eagles?
Yes.
Okay, I like it. My analysis that I have done tells me that it will be a Philadelphia Eagles victory between 4 and 8 points.
Wow.
So I'm coming in saying that it's going to be either a touchdown or just outside of a touchdown going into the 2-minute warning, and the Eagles will not lose possession to Mahomes. They'll be able to do they're going to suck the life out of that clock in the third quarter. They're going to suck the life out of that clock in the fourth quarter. We're going to see we're going to see a score of somewhere around I'm going to say 23-17.
23-17. I was thinking somewhere. Yeah. Okay, I like that. I think. Yeah.
Are you going 38-21? What are you doing? Where's your 17 points coming from?
I'm thinking
35-14.
It's going to be the Eagles are going to be in the 30s, and the Kansas City will be somewhere around 21-ish range.
Okay, so mid-30s to 20-ish.
Yeah.
Okay, like I think that is very reasonable. Now, I think
the Kansas City is going to score. They're at the very least going to kick field goals, so they're going to score. So maybe 21 to 24. Let's say somewhere in there, 20 to 24 range, and then the Eagles will be let's say 30 to 34 range, somewhere in that ballpark.
Okay, I like it. I like this a lot because the thing is there's a little piece inside of me that says, oh, this is going to be ugly like the NFC Championship game. And what's going to happen is the Eagles are going to march down, score a touchdown. Then the Chiefs aren't going to do diddly. And then the Eagles are going to score another touchdown. It's going to be 14-0. Then it's going to be 14-3. Then it's going to be 21-10. I feel like you're entirely right. It could just get out of hand and they just run away. It's just never a contest.
I think that the NFC East much better than the AFC West.
Yes.
So right there, this was not just a walkthrough for like the Chiefs had. But the other thing is, I don't think the Bengals are nearly at the level of the Eagles. I think the Eagles are so much better than the Bengals.
Yeah.
That it's not even close. I don't think the Chiefs have seen a team that's this good all year.
Yeah.
And I think that this is being they're talking about the lines and the Eagles have the edge, but I just think overall balanced attack, the defense is going to be coming at them. This is going to be the best team that the Chiefs have played. And I think the Chiefs have been beatable this year. They're just in a really bad division, and everybody in the AFC is kind of obviously not as good as we thought they were.
Yeah, I just feel like the Eagles could put together a couple of 9-minute drives in the second half and basically just completely just suck the life out of the Chiefs defense. I just
All right,
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm getting the hook, Buckaroos.
All right.
Listen, we're gonna talk probably pregame, talk halftime, talk postgame. So be on the lookout for that. And go Eagles! I like the Eagles here. I think this is going to be a game. It's going to be super fun. I think the Eagles are just going to have too much for the Chiefs.
I think it sounds amazing. You have some fun at your soccer games, Mr. Boston Buckaroo.
Boston Buckaroo.
Everyone can get on, follow us on the Tickety Talk and the Tweeter Twits, and we'll
let's publish. Let's get this episode out there, folks.
We'll enjoy the game tonight, the big game. There we go.
Thank you, sir.
Peace.
We'll talk to you soon.
Peace.